Vice Ganda's entry to the 2024 Metro Manila Film Fest is now streaming on Netflix, so here's my review of And the Breadwinner Is. When people say Filipino movies suck or that Filipino movies are trash, there's usually two suspects, Vic Soto and Vice Ganda. Again, nothing personal against these people because I don't know them personally. I have nothing against Vice Ganda. I think as a host, Vice Ganda really works. If you watched Last One Laughing Philippines on Prime Video, in a room full of comedians, Vice Ganda is still able to stand out. So I don't think there's any denying Vice Ganda's raw charisma and natural talent when it comes to hosting. Again, I always feel the need to mention these things because at this point, I'm no stranger to dealing with people who act like they have to come to a celebrity's rescue whenever someone throws criticism at their work. But here's the thing, people need to realize that what works on Showtime does not work on a film. Film should be a prestigious art form, not a place for celebrities to do skits you could watch for free at home. I bring this up because for the first time ever, it seemed as though Vice Ganda was ready to finally give us something new. Because much like Vic Soto, Vice is also trying their hand at dramatic acting. And well, let's just say this movie was not it for me. And the Breadwinner Is sees Vice Ganda take on the role of Bambi, a family breadwinner who comes home only to find that her family mishandled all the money she worked so hard to give them. On that same day, Bambi later finds themselves in an accident that causes everyone to believe she died, even though in actuality she survived. Bambi and the family then decide to play along and pretend she's dead because having her quote-unquote dead financially benefits them. And thus, quote-unquote comedy and quote-unquote drama ensues. Let's start with the positives first because there's not a lot of it if I'm being honest. There's one good scene in this movie and it's the scene where Vice Ganda does a monologue. I thought it was really well acted and well written. Vice Ganda gives it their all in this scene and I thought their performance in that one moment was truly impactful. The rest of the cast in that scene was really good too. But other than Vice, the other standout actor from that scene in my opinion was Kokoy de Santos, who gives a powerful performance and really hits Vice Ganda's character with existential questions that rock their character to the core. I also thought the choice to do it in one take was great. But here's the thing, this gigantic argument scene is one out of 700 other argument scenes because this movie is full of argument scenes. It's full of people loudly screaming at each other and it comes to a point where the drama just feels forced. If you've ever seen A Clockwork Orange, there's a scene in that movie where the main character, Alex DeLarge, is sent to prison. He's strapped into a chair with eyes clamped and forced to watch disturbing images again and again in an attempt to rehabilitate him. I bring this up because this is exactly what watching this movie is like. This thing is 2 hours long and it's full of Vice Ganda-isms that just keep going on and on. What are these Vice Ganda-isms, you might ask? Well, it's unfunny slapstick comedy with a dash of people screaming at each other and a little sprinkle of body shaming for good measure. Because nothing says comedy like making fun of a teenager's chest size. Much like The Kingdom, I was bamboozled into thinking this was gonna be different, that this was gonna be the movie where we finally take these people seriously. But nope, it's still very much the same Vice Ganda movie you've seen 100 times, just with a lot more dramatic arguing and a really desaturated color grading. It's basically Zack Snyder's Vice Ganda movie. You'd think that with a plot that's all about asking your family to essentially fake your own death, they'd come up with really funny and clever situations for Vice Ganda's character to evade suspicion. But nope, this movie was just an excuse for Vice Ganda to do a greatest hits compilation. If you could even call it a greatest hits compilation, because they'd actually have to be great first to make a compilation called that, now wouldn't they? Because I kid you not, to evade authorities, Vice Ganda's character decides to reprise a handful of roles they've played before. So in this very serious awards bait of a movie, Private Benjamin shows up in an attempt at comedy. I'm sure some 50-year-old studio executive thought people would be cheering like how people cheered for Tobey Maguire when Vice Ganda puts on costumes of characters they've played before. When I uploaded my review for Uninvited, I was pretty surprised to see people say that they felt the pacing was rushed. Because I personally thought it was paced fairly, but there are a bunch of Filipino films out there that overstay their welcome and just keep going on and on. In my opinion, Uninvited wasn't one of those movies because it knew when to pack it up. This movie, on the other hand, is a great example of a movie overstaying its welcome. It's also full of on-the-nose dialogue. I think Filipino movies have a really bad habit of writing dialogue that treats its audience like they're not smart enough to understand subtlety. For example, example, this movie opens with a 5-minute narration of Vice Ganda explaining to the audience what a breadwinner is, while whimsical iTunes stock-sounding music plays in the background. My name is Bambi. I'm a breadwinner. Breadwinners are people who make a lot of money while their family leeches off of them. Obviously, I'm paraphrasing there, but you get the point. It's dialogue that sounds like it was written by someone who just discovered what the word breadwinner meant yesterday. And now they're pandering to the audience like a high school student trying to impress their creative writing teacher. Not to mention, this movie is littered with so many subplots. Each character had their own little side story, and it felt like we were killing time with each one of them because not all of them were brought back up in a meaningful way in the end. I thought the subplot that was the most guilty of this was the romantic subplot. I wouldn't be surprised if this was added in here because a group of studio executives thought they needed something to keep the teenage Wattpad reading demographic hooked. Overall, I'd say this movie was just wasted potential. In my opinion, Vice Ganda could really help steer or improve the taste of Filipino masses when it comes to film if they so choose to do so. They have all this reach and influence, but to me it kinda looks like they're just satisfied with giving everyone the same old thing. Because And the Breadwinner is full of the same old formulaic fluff you'd find in any other Filipino movie. You got forced drama, unfunny comedy, romance that panders to the precious hearts romances readers, and dialogue that treats its audience like idiots. There's one piece of gold in this dumpster fire, but not enough to save it, in my opinion. Vice and Vic Soto have an ounce of my respect for trying, but for me, it just wasn't enough.